各位朋友们，大家好，安安大家好，我是苏探，欢迎来到今天的节目。这次我有邀请乌克兰的国会议员，就是 Holos 党的副主席 Inna Sovsun 来参加我们今天的特别直播，讨论乌克兰的局势。So let's welcome Inna Sovsun, the Vice Chairman of Holos Party of the Ukrainian Parliament, to our show. Welcome, Inna. Thank you so much for letting me have this short interview with you. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So recently, Ukrainian soldiers, they've been fighting very bravely against Russian invasion, against Russian occupants. And Ukrainian people are bravely protecting their freedom, their democracy, their land. And recently we see those terrible news of mass bombings, shellings of big cities like Chernihiv, Kharkiv, or what recently has been going on in Mariupol. Can you please just give a short recap of the recent 2 days, because you are still staying in Kyiv, and what is going on? Why should Putin be stopped? And how are Ukrainian people coping right
now? I still can't believe I'm saying these words. We are 10 days at war. That is unbelievable. It still feels like you can just go to sleep, wake up, and realize it was a dream. But it's not. It's actually happening. It is real. Bombs are falling on our heads. Thousands of people are being killed. Russian tanks wandering around Kyiv in great numbers. But the Ukrainian army is indeed fighting very, very hard. And I think we have proven to the world that Ukrainian army is probably one of the strongest in the world, despite Russian claims that they have this second largest army in the world and so on and so forth. They proved unable to fulfill their plan of rapid blitzkrieg of Kyiv in 1 or 2 or 3 days. They actually failed to do so, and as of now, Kyiv does feel very much protected by the army from different sides. Russians are trying to encircle the city from the north and northwest and northeast, but they're failing to do so.
Belarusian border side.
Yeah, from the Belarusian, because they have basically annexed Belarus right now. So they are trying to do that, but it's not happening. So Kyiv actually feels relatively safe as of now. I'm feeling extreme pain for the people living in the towns near Kyiv, like the northern towns of Irpin and Bucha, which is like literally 20 minutes drive from my home. There are many people who lived there who were working in Kyiv, but they bought houses in Irpin because it was close to Kyiv. There are many people, I know at least 3 families, who moved from Donbass when Putin started a war there in 2014. They moved to Kyiv. They couldn't afford housing right in the city, so they moved to Irpin. Can you imagine that? And now their houses are being destroyed. Second time in their life, it is being destroyed by Putin. So what is happening on the northern towns from Kyiv is terrible. But Ukrainian army is fighting back. The situation on the east is diverse. I think I can't give you the exact trend, but they were bombing my native city of Kharkiv for 3 or 4 days in a row. People were spending times in the shelters with their children and so on. But then I think the bombings have stopped more or less. And there are fightings on the ground. The Ukrainian army did manage to push them back further from the city a little bit, which is good, which gives us hope. But Kharkiv is really close to the Russian border. It's like 40 kilometers from the Russian border. So, they would resupply and then regroup, and I'm sure they will try to fight back for Kharkiv. The situation on the south is again changing all the time. They did indeed take most ground on the south. So if we speak about where they have actually gained, that is on the south. They have captured the city of Kherson, which is the first regional center that they captured.
The port. It's a port city.
It's the port, so they need the ports. So I believe there will be major battles happening there right now, because we need to fight back there. Because if they catch the port, they will, that will be extremely dangerous. So we need them to fight back. They were trying to capture the city of Mykolaiv, but Ukrainian army fought and regained control over the city. So the situation is rather diverse, and it's changing basically every every hour. So if you run this segment like 2 days from now, a day from now, even half a day from now, I bet the situation would be very different. But as of now, that is the situation. So the scariest part of all are, of course, those bombardments from air. That is the most scary part, and that is the only reason why Russians are keeping the ground and why they're gaining in this war, is because they're just indiscriminately shooting or sending bombs onto our heads, and that is just what they're doing.
Bombing hospitals, bombing residential areas, bombing everyone. And that's why President Zelensky said that the no-fly zone over Ukraine, it's very important. If NATO wants to support Ukraine, wants to show the real support to Ukrainian people and to avoid the further casualties, it is necessary to impose that no-fly zone over Ukraine. Can you please give us your opinion? Why is it that important, and why NATO is actually not? They're saying that that they don't want to escalate, but maybe they just don't understand one thing, that if you don't impose the no-fly zone, Russia, they will not stop. And
exactly. And that is my main argument. Well, first of all, Ukraine was a nuclear power state. We had
before 1994.
Before 1994, and we voluntarily gave that up in exchange for assurances from the West that the West will be protecting us in case we're in danger. And now it just feels like a betrayal, because we were promised those guarantees and we are not getting those. So that is just not right. It can't be happening. Second of all, is what the West needs to realize right now, and I think they've fallen short of grasping this reality, is that it's not war of Putin against Ukraine. It's actually the war of Putin against the whole civilization, against the whole world. And let's imagine they take control over the country, they devastate the land, they kill all Ukrainians, every single one of us, and then they come close to the Polish border. Can someone really imagine that they will stop there? They won't. And then NATO will have to intervene. It's just after death of millions of Ukrainians. So what we are
Ukraine right now is acting as a shield for the whole world, for the whole Western world, for the whole EU, for NATO countries, for the United States. That's why I say during my live streams that Ukrainians right now are spilling blood for us, for Poles, for Germans, for Americans, for everyone living in the Western world, in the Western countries.
I'm so happy to hear that you understand that. It pains me to see that the Western leaders do not seem to understand that, because we are a shield. We are fighting not just for our land, we are fighting for Europe as well, and that is why this level of support we are getting from Europe is just unacceptable. We are dying here because of the European values that we claim to be so dear to us, and that's why Putin is killing us, because we say that we want democracy, that we want respect for human rights. And I do have many issues with how Ukrainian democracy functions. I'm not naive in that sense, but after all, we are a democratic state, and that needs to be respected. And that is what is scaring Putin most of all, is that we are a democratic state and we want to stay a democratic state. That is why he launched the war against us in his delusional brain. And that is why we're asking for no-fly zone, because what Putin is doing right now, it's just, it's terrible, like literally terrible. He's killing Ukrainians in thousands, and people have nowhere to go. And you cannot be safe from the bomb falling on your head, and they are throwing bombs everywhere. It's not just like in eastern Ukraine. There are bombs falling in western Ukrainian cities, and with aviation, it's just they can easily reach any city in Ukraine and just drop the bomb, and that no one can be safe there. And that is why we are asking for no-fly zone, and that is why we feel so much betrayed by the West when they're saying that it's not possible. So what we are saying is that, okay, at least give us the fighter jets. At least the fighter jets.
So that you can impose that no-fly zone by yourself.
By ourselves, we are ready to do that. We're ready to do anything just to stop those mass killings of the Ukrainian people. But again, we are not getting even that as of yet. I do hope that the West will change their minds. They are saying that it's not time yet. I just want them to give me the number of how many Ukrainians need to die before it's time. So that is why this no-fly zone is so crucial. That is why we are addressing the whole world, asking to help us ensure a no-fly zone over Ukraine. If the world is not ready to do that themselves, let them do it. We shall do that ourselves, but just give us the weapons so that we are able to do that.
Yeah, that's why NATO should finally wake up, because the world war, it's going on already. It already started. The fights are going on in Ukraine, and who knows who will be next. Might be Baltic states, it might be Poland.
I think the Baltic states are actually the Baltic states are fully aware of that. If Putin conquers Ukraine, and Ukraine is way bigger than the Baltic states, it will literally take him 3 days to take control over the Baltic states. And that is clearly his ambition, because he already claimed that the fact that the Soviet Union collapsed is the biggest mistake of the century, and he is planning to fix it. So I think the Baltic states do realize that now.
Thank you so much, Inna, for that detailed answer, and I really hope that the no-fly zone will be imposed, at least that NATO will provide you with fighter jets and with all of the necessary equipment. But going from the west to the east, because right now we can see the formation of the new alliance between Russia and Communist China. Recently, before the Olympic Games, Xi Jinping, per the information that is available right now, even on CNN, Xi Jinping asked Putin not to attack before the end of the Olympics. And then later on the website of Russia's embassy to China, there has been an article talking about 19 minutes phone talk between Putin and Xi Jinping. And Xi Jinping said that he respects and understands. He used the word 尊重 in Mandarin, meaning that he respects Putin's actions towards Ukraine. And then in the United Nations, they decided not to vote. They decided just abstain from the vote in condemning Russia's actions. Right now, the media in China, they are very on Russian side. And if there are any Chinese people trying to be vocal about their support of Ukraine, who want to try to donate money, for example, they are silenced momentarily, and sometimes they're even fined for that. Then there is another thing. Unfortunately, 4 Chinese students in Kharkiv lost their lives due to Russian bombings. But the narrative you hear right now from the Chinese side, from the Chinese people, from the Chinese little pinks, how they're called, people who support Chinese Communist Party, is that Ukrainians should pay for that. They're blaming Ukrainian people for Russian bombing. It's just very cruel and unbelievable. Can you say when Ukrainian people see those kind of news, because I think that those news are available in Ukraine, they are translated into Ukrainian, what is the reaction, and what is your reaction as a member of parliament?
Can I just specify one thing? You said that there was an article posted on the Russian embassy in Beijing about what the Chinese leadership was saying. Was that confirmed in any Chinese official sources?
No, it was on Russia's embassy website.
Yeah.
I can send you the link later.
Yeah, it's just that what we have to understand is that if Russians are claiming that, it's not necessarily true. So I'm not saying that the Chinese leadership did or did not say that. It's just that we should just stop.
But Chinese side didn't debunk it, though.
Yeah, well, but yeah, okay. But it's just that I think we should just stop listening to Russians. Stop quoting them, stop giving them air, stop showing it, putting on television, because whenever he's opening his mouth, he's lying. And that's what we have to accept. And of course, they are trying to build bridges with China. And there were very diverse messages from China in weeks leading to the war, because in some cases they were saying that they understand Russia's security concerns. And then there were quotes saying that they respect the sovereignty of Ukraine. So I think that they are trying to keep away from this conflict. But then, of course, it's a fight about democracy. So I think that is pretty clear where the Chinese sentiments the Chinese leadership sentiments would fall after all. But I do think that there is another issue at play, is that they are not natural allies, because there is, China is after all a contestant, a competitor to Russia. And I think Russia does realize that they cannot be truly allied just because they're both dictatorship or authoritarian regimes. So I don't think that link is completely tight, but it is just because of the values, I think, that are shared, or rather lack of the values that they share. So that issue is there. Of course, we are concerned if China does support Russia, and if that does turn into whole-scale World War III. that is an important factor at play. I hope the Chinese people would be able to realize that this is just unacceptable. I don't know how to deliver that message to the Chinese people, though, frankly speaking, just because, lack of free media and lack of access to the Chinese audience is just, it's just impossible to overcome. So I do think that Russia is trying to get China on board. The very fact that China didn't vote in line with Russia but abstained, I take as a good sign, frankly speaking. We do hope that it's a good sign, because they could have voted, against the resolution.
Yeah, together with Russia.
Yeah, and they did that before. So it's actually like them abstaining is, I think, as good as it could have gotten. Like, we had very little hope for China supporting the resolution, frankly speaking. So we were supposing that they would abstain, so they abstained. I think that is realistically, that is probably the best case scenario that could have happened. But yeah, we do have to work closer to ensure that China does not support Russia militarily. That is the most important thing, because that we wouldn't be able to handle that 100%.
But there is support in Russia economically. They didn't sanction Russia. Some of the Chinese companies wanted to pull out of Russia, but Chinese government didn't let them do that. They said that you should keep on doing business with Russia. And at the same time, they're buying a lot of natural resources from Russia, from forest, like gas, oil, coal, like everything. So they're kind of same as the Western countries are on dependency from Russia's natural resources. So this might be a concern.
Yeah, of course. And that is when we are asking, apart from the no-fly zone, we're also asking for full trade embargo with Russia from everyone. And we do realize that if China doesn't impose that, then Russia will just switch all its exports towards China. China is a big market. But again, China is on the markets. It's a competitor to Russia. So they will continue to buy some resources from Russia. But we are not, frankly speaking, we are not hoping for them to impose any sanctions against Russia. That doesn't look realistic as of now. So it is what it is. So yeah, you are right in the sense that they are supporting Russia economically, and while the other countries are imposing sanctions and are not buying stuff from Russia or pulling their companies out of Russia, if China will continue to be buying stuff from Russia, that will be the money that Russia will be using to buy weapons with which they will be killing Ukrainians.
Yeah, that's a very sad thing to hear. But at the same time, many of Asian countries are supporting Ukraine, including Japan and including Taiwan, because Taiwan recently joined sanctions against Russia. And many Taiwanese people are supporting Ukraine. They're donating money. There is an official account where you can donate money to Ukrainians. And Taiwanese people are really willing to help, because many of the Taiwanese, they see the similarities between Ukrainians and Taiwanese, between the country of Ukraine and Taiwan, because same thing, just I told you about the language, because Ukrainian language has been Russia tried to destroy it for the whole 20th century. Same thing with the Taiwanese language, where people were fined just simply for speaking their own language. And their culture, the Taiwanese culture, they had the Kuomintang rulers, the former authoritarian rulers, they tried to just get rid of everything that was before them. So there are many similarities. And right now, with the dangers from the big neighbor, like Russia is invading Ukraine right now, and China is constantly threatening an invasion to Taiwan. I wanted to ask you because government already gave their position. Taiwanese government already said that they are supporting Ukraine here, and that they're sanctioning Russia, and that Taiwan is standing together with Ukraine. But for the ordinary people, what can they do? Because recently I got some messages from the people with some military experiences who said if they can enroll in the Ukrainian army. And there are also people who are asking if they can donate directly to Ukrainian army. Can you just say what can people do personally to help Ukraine?
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you for the very fact that people are willing to contribute to our fight. I believe there are two main ways how people can help. First of all, as for those people who are willing to come and fight, President Zelensky announced the creation of the International Battalion. So people can come here and fight. logistics are a bit complicated, but I think people are mostly landing in Poland and then crossing the border to Ukraine.
Okay.
And there are people from, I believe the recent data I saw 17 nations who have already joined the battalion. So it is possible, it is doable, and people are doing that. So those who are willing to come and fight, particularly those with military experience, are very much welcome. So please do that. Information on International Battalion is available on the governmental website, and I can probably share that with you. Yeah. And then as for people who are willing to help financially, the National Bank of Ukraine has opened an official account of the government where people can be donating, and those money are being put directly into use for the Ukrainian army. So again, I will just provide you with the number, and then you can post it, and people should feel safe to donate there, because that is an official governmental account. So it's not someone private accounts or something. It's governmental accounts, and we have already raised quite a lot of money, but we are, of course, we need more in order to be able to continue buy food for our soldiers at least.
Yeah. War is it's expensive.
Of course.
I mean, like many people are saying, oh, Ukrainian government, they have many issues with corruption and so on. But like everybody forgot that Ukraine has been fighting a war for 8 years already, and it's not cheap. And
of course.
That's where the problems with the economy, that's where they come from.
Yeah. So please donate. Please continue supporting us. I believe that the good guys always win at the end, and we are for sure the good guys. I'm just very concerned about the price of that victory.
Well, the light always can win over the darkness, like President Zelensky said, right? Yeah. Thank you so much, Inna, for today's interview. I've been following you on Twitter, and it's really uplifting to see how Ukrainian people, old people, children, women, everybody is supporting the country and is willing to protect the country. Because I've seen your photos with a gun next to you, like working, and there is a weapon. First, I thought it's unbelievable in the 21st century. Like we shouldn't have wars like that. We shouldn't have invaders like Russia invading into a European country. But at the same time, it is so big, and it is so just, I can't find any words to see how the Ukrainian people are willing to stick together and to protect their land, protect their values, protect their democracy, their freedoms, and their right to make friends with anyone they want, and not with those people who Russia wants you to make friends with.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And Ukraine stays strong.
Yeah, thanks for your
Slava
support.
Ukraini.
Героям слава.